So today we'll be exploring Hr Schema. We'll be doing it in two different ways. One is through the schema diagram, and the other is through Sql Developer, and then we'll be using Sql commands as well. So let's begin. So if you have to go for Hr Schema, then you'll be able to, let's say, Hr Schem schema. Please ignore any backgrounds. Kids are around. Okay, so let me go to images, and okay, this seems nice to me. Okay, let me go back to tools, size, and if I say large, this is more readable, I guess. I have an award-winning connectivity of internet, so let me think. Okay, perfect. What's wrong here? Let's call it HR schema. Okay, perfect. So here, if I go to other section, let's say insert. Perfect. So within the HR schema, we have uh, job history, we have departments, we have locations, countries, regions, and so on. So if you look at the scenario, it says like uh, first of all, there are regions, and within a region, like say Asia or uh, say America and so on. So we have regions, and then we have countries within those regions. Within a country, there could be multiple locations where there might be some departments located. So a department, we have different office locations within the same country, maybe in various city, of course. So we have the city attribute right at this place, if you can see here. So we have the city attribute right at this place. Okay, and then we have departments, so there could be several different departments over there, and then within that department you could have uh, multiple manager, say a manager that might be handling that particular department. The manager has to be employee, of course, So we have the employees table as well. So employees might have their attributes like employee ID, first name, last name, and so on. And the most important thing is we have a job ID right here that says the employee's designation, the employee's job position currently. Okay, there is a possibility of employee working on several job positions. So you could see that we have a job history, which indicates that an employee might be at different job positions at different point of time, indicating the start date and the end date. Okay, so within that particular start date and the end date, what was the position of a particular employee in which particular department? So all the informations can be acquired from job history. So looking at the jobs, if an employee, two or more employees have the same job ID, whether they are at the same job position, even then they could have separate salary. Look at the salary attribute being stored in the employees table. Considering that the employees might have different salary even if they have the same job position. What if we have say a company or an organization where there is a rule that every employee having the same job title has to have the same salary? Then in that case the salary wouldn't have been stored in the employees table, rather it would have been stored in the jobs table, indicating that a particular job title might have the same salary, or a minimum salary and a maximum salary, and so on. Okay, so in that case we don't have to indicate the minimum and maximum salary for the same job position. Rather what we could do is we could have the same salary for consistently using those that particular information. But in case the Oracle has provided this HR schema, so considering the schema right here, let's acquire the knowledge that it has to provide here. So employees have some commission percent. They might or might not have the commission percent, provided that with what sort of job positions they hold. Even if they are, say, on the sales department, and they are a sales manager or they are a sales representative, then they could have commission percent or they might not, depending upon maybe how soon they have joined the company or whatever the business rule applies. So this is all about this schema diagram right here. The uh, and now let me show you the same thing. Let me show you the same thing in case of SQL Developer. Okay, so considering my SQL Developer is right here, so let me connect to my local machine. I should right click and connect. If everything is fine, if my listener along with the Express edition is long, okay, so it's right here. Now if you go back to tables, you'll see all those tables are right at this place. Forget about the table top earning employees right here. It's a view actually. In fact, it's a table where a table has been created. So this is not from. Let me delete it for you. Okay, so I simply drop this table. Perfect. So these are the tables. We have departments, we have employees, we have job locations, we have regions, and so on. If you go back to regions, you will be able to see that we have region ID and the region name. So in SQL Developer, we have the facility. If you go to the data attribute right here, you'll be able to see what sort of data are stored currently. So we have Europe, Americas, Asia, and Middle East and Africa as being region ID 1 or region ID 4, and so on. So within a region, so now if you see the locations table, so you will be able to see the columns here. So we have location ID, we have street address, postal code, city, state, province, and country ID. So it's right here. So it's right here in this schema, if you see, within the regions, I have region ID and region name. In the locations, I have location ID, street address, postal city, province, and the country code. It's the same thing right here. The country ID values. So let's explore the data right here. The data within the country ID. So if you see the country ID, we have ITJP, so it stands for Japan maybe. Okay, so let me go back and see. We have countries here, and I have some data here. So IT says Italy, and JP says Japan. Yes, it's right here. So only those values that are present within the country ID can be possibly stored in the locations table as country ID, being a foreign key. Being a foreign key. We'll talk about these discussions later on. So being a foreign key. So instead, if you want to see what kind of constants are applied on that particular table, you'll just go back and click on the constants tab. You'll be able to see all those constants that are possibly applied on the locations table. Sql Developer took some time to fetch all those information. Obviously, where did it get all this information from? From the data dictionary that we have discussed in the class. So it has got all the information from it has queried all the information from the data dictionary. For example, that if you like to see, okay, who has the owner right? So it's the HR. So HR is within the HR schema, the HR table or the user has been created as HR. So the constraint name, if you see here, is a foreign key. The location ID on the locations table is a primary key. Okay, so there are so many different things. We have check constraint as well. A check constraint will see if the city is null or not null. Okay, this is the condition. That means I cannot create a location by keeping the city as blank. We cannot create a location keeping the city blank. That's what it says. Okay, so such type of constraints are applied on the table. We'll learn later when we discuss about applying constraints or verifying constraints or modifying constraints. So we'll talk about all those things when we discuss about constraints separately in the class. For meanwhile, what I see here is a check constraint is applied, a primary key constraint is applied. Primary key stands for not null and unique at the same time. Okay, foreign key, it says that a particular value in the location ID or country ID. Here, if you see, a country ID is applied such that it is available in the country's table. Imagine just imagine I have an office. I wanted to start an office, but that office is within the city, but I did not write any information about the country there. So from your global aspect, if you remember, so from the global aspect, if you remember that Rome is located in Italy, then you'll be able to find it. But here in this schema, the Oracle database has applied a foreign key indicating that the country ID is from the countries table. Okay, so and it says not null means okay, so the condition is nullable. If I see, let me go back and check. Yeah, the country ID, it says nullable. Yes, that means you can keep empty as well. Okay, so there's no hard and fast rule. And if it's country where an office, warehouse, or production site of a company is located, it's a very good way of letting people know that what is all the attributes going to hold. So these are why comments are used. So it's good practice. Okay, so it's a good practice. Then how do you apply comments? We'll see later on. Applying comments on a column applying comments on a table. Okay, when we discuss about DDL statements. Well, that is how you explore the department's table and the department's information and the job information and everything. Okay, so it's right here. If you have to see, then you'll be able to explore it. So that is all about this schema, HR schema right here. Instead, if you want to know more about schema, now let's talk about how do you query them using the SQL statements. Okay, so first thing first, I'd go back and just by looking at, so let me show you who the user is connected currently. This is the first thing you should do, whether you have the permission to access those table information or the information or not. So let me see. Uh, so the user says HR. Okay, so the user is HR, and HR has the complete authority on the HR schema now. Well then, the next thing is let me list out all the tables. So the command would say so we have corresponding data dictionary with users, so we concatenate with user underscore. If you say DBA underscore, means the DBA schema or the DBA role, any tables that within the DBA roles will get access. So user underscore tables. So select table name from user underscore tables. So if you see, all those tables are right here. You could have collected other informations as well, because the user underscore tables has lot many information. For example, user underscore table has lot more information. So you say select asterisk. I don't have to keep on telling you all this because we have discussed this in the class as well. So select asterisk from user underscore tables. So if you see, we have a lot of information. We have the table name, we have the table space name. Table space is the physical location, okay? And then we have the cluster name. Then we have the status. Then we have say there are a lot many informations like how data gets increased, and then you have the blocks, you have the number of rows, okay, and then you have the average count of length or whatsoever. So you have a lot many information right here. You might have guessed these are all the information from the data dictionary. Okay, so user underscore table is actually a view that's stored, and that's actually querying your data dictionary. Okay, so it's a view, actually it's a view prepared. Let me go back and show you if I have been able to. We have employee details view, and these are internally stored within the Oracle database. So far so good. Now let me for example, I'm now interested only on departments table. Okay, I would like to see all the information of departments table. Information of look at the word. Sometimes I use of and sometimes I use in. When I say of, I'm actually talking about the database schema or the table structure. When I say in, I'm actually looking for the data stored within that table. So I'm talking about schema and instances. Okay, so when I say structure, so to see all information of departments. So I rather say DESC. Instead, the command says something like this: DESC RIB, describe, and then name of the table. So this is the general syntax of the command, where the square bracket says it's optional that whether you like to write it or not, and the angle bracket says is user changeable. So we say DESC or IBE. For the time being, I use the complete describe for describing the table, and DESC for descending order. We'll talk about descending orders, ascending and descending orders later on when we discuss about order by clause. So describe and name the table is departments. Okay, that's it. So SQL commands are generally case insensitive. Okay, so here I say departments or I say DEPARTMENTS departments, it's all the same. Okay, it's right here. The department ID, the department name, the manager ID, location, and so on. So, and moreover, if you like to see the information of employees, then you would have said DESC, EMPLOYES employees. Here it is. So either you say describe or you say DESC, just DESC by omitting the square bracket thing here. Then you have said DESC and employees. Okay, so that will be all for the lab indicating. So we have the lab here exploring HR schema and performing basic queries using the select statement. So these are the fundamental things. Now if you have to use the select statement, the fundamental select statement looks like SELECT select. Then we have, instead you could use say asterisk from table name. Okay, so this asterisk represents all possible columns within that table. Come say now I'll like to see the list of all the employees. Then the statement would have been select asterisk from employees. So if you see, I have all the information of employees stored within the employees table, and all possible columns are listed here because of the asterisk sign. All possible columns are listed here. If you want to have selected information to view selected column information, then let's say find the list of employees, find the employee full name and their salary, irrespective of their email address, their phone number and anything else. So I just want the full name and their salary. So a common way of thinking is, even if you are not asked, then let's apply the primary key information of the table, the data stored as a primary key. Okay, that is just a general rule of thumb that helps you a lot. So this is just a general practice. So the statement would have been select employee ID. Then you have in Oracle we have a function called we have to use pipe in order to join information. Like in Western culture, we have last name coming first, so I say last name, pipe sign, and then a blank space maybe indicating a blank space in between, then another pipe sign. So this will be considering a string getting attached to another string. Works as concatenation like you used to do in any other programming language like C or C++. So two strings are getting attached. So last name coming here, then the pipe sign is used as a concatenation operator, and then you have the blank space in between, data coming from first name now. Let's use an alias to call it as full name. Okay, you could have called it anything like such, or if you have to use blank space, full name. So from, and we are missing the salary, right? So from, and the table is called employees. So it's right here. If you see the employee ID, the full name, you know, in the Western culture, we have the last name coming first. So we have King Stephen, we have Kocher Nena or Nena Kocher, whatever you call it, and so on. Okay. So even if you are not asked, then if somebody asks you to find the employee's full name and their salary, then you could use first name or last name all together. So I could have used first name and last name, calling it the full name. So things would have been the same, right? The same number of rows, the same number of rows. Um, okay. So we have all rows fetched as 107 rows. Do not ever consider these things like 0.011 seconds. It's not from the Oracle or something like that. Okay, so it's something that might lure you that it's a query being executed in this many times or something like that. So there has some, while discussing about query optimization and query performance, query tuning, we'll discuss about these things: how long the query gets executed, what is the time taken for a query to get executed. So for the time being, ignore this 0.011 seconds, and just try to focus on this part, that 107 rows has been fetched. Okay, perfect. So far so good. So the query says select employee ID, first name. The pipe sign is used for concatenation operator. This single quote is used for blank space that you see here in between the data coming from the first name and the last name. And then the as operator is used as alias. Okay, so alias is a name, temporary name given to a particular column or the data phase being fetched. So, and then we have the salary from employees, the name of the table. If I have to write the general syntax in order to view the selected column, the general syntax would have been like SELECT select col1, comma, col2, comma, col3, and then we have the from statement, sorry, from clause from table name. I have seen few of my students writing even the angle brackets at this place. Please do not do so. The angle bracket is there to represent that it's an optional parameter, it's an optional thing, it is a user changeable part. Okay, so the angle bracket wouldn't be required while you write the name of the table. Look at this. Okay, so the angle bracket wouldn't be required while you use the table name. So far so good. Then we'll be discussing more about select statement and its classes later on in the later class. Till here, if you have any doubt, if you have any confusion, you could put them into comments inside the classroom, or you can use the YouTube comment box instead. Thank you, everyone. Okay,